Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Oh boy, welcome back. It is Thursday. We have quite a bit to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. I want to say that I got a text message from someone that asked me a question. And they said, Joe, are you okay? You know, everyone's worried about you. Because yesterday at the end of the show, I said, you get to pray. I pray at the end of every show. And no, I didn't feel like I was in a place where prayer was, I should have done it. I'm angry. I'm angry because Tina Peters in jail. I just got a thing from Matt DePerno. Same people that are going after Tina Peters are also going after Matt DePerno. It's all from the same group. They're all communicating together. And state by state, they're doing things to basically say we don't have to listen to anything the federal government says. And we haven't done anything about it. I mean, the DOJ is not doing anything about it. You have governors, you have mayors that are actively disobeying federal standards. By the way, the borders of the United States are not the states. That border is the jar that holds the jelly beans. The jelly beans are the states. It all operates as one unit. So why is it too hard for Pam Bondi to do the right thing? Why is it that people are not in shackles? Why are the people that stole our elections going back the last 20 years, why are they not in shackles? Why are the people in the FBI that are responsible for sedition and what can only be described as treason, why is there this squishiness? This morning I had a conversation about this and I said, let me explain to you what I see. We have the haves and the have-nots. It has nothing to do with how much money you make. Most billionaires in this country are made by the CIA. True story. We just found out Patrick Byrne. He was a very wealthy man. Ran one of the largest organizations, tech companies, one of the first in the tech boom. He worked for the CIA. Gave all that money back, basically. He spent almost his entire fortune chasing truth and making sure that we could undo some of the things that he knew later on that the CIA was doing to hurt our country and others. But they're the haves and the have-nots. And so you have two currents. You have an undercurrent, which can basically pull down anybody at once. And then you have the current on top that makes it look like, yeah, Department of Justice, we're going to do justice by the American people. But that doesn't do justice. It's a Department of Injustice. And the judiciary is the Department of the Injudiciary. I don't even know if that's a thing. I made that up. But the system is not designed to favor the public, the people. The people have become slaves to the entire environment. And we see it every day. The FBI doesn't feel, even under Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they don't feel like they have to tell us the truth. They can come up with whatever story they want. And historically, if you go back, they get to pick and choose what part of anything that we hear or that we're able to have access to. Conspiracy theories get developed because people leak. Loose lips sink ships, they leak things. That's no different than what happened with Candace Owens. That's no different than what happened with Charlie Kirk. It's no different than what happened with, you just put anything in front of it. COVID, the vaccine, VAERS. Now they got people out there that are trying to say that VAERS is, anybody that has a hangnail that says, I got a hangnail because of the vaccine, it goes into VAERS. They're trying to downplay the damage that have been done to Americans that has killed off millions of Americans. The haves and the have-nots. See, the haves, those are the people that are, rub on your belly, tap on your head. They're a part of the fraternity. They're a part of the cartel. And the have-nots is most of America. The have-nots are the ones that have to pay 56 cents on every dollar, because the people in Congress and the people in the DOJ and the people in the IRS, just so you know, there was a story that came out that the IRS agents themselves owed nearly $1 billion in back taxes. And they work for the IRS. They get to go take our money, and they don't pay taxes. Why would they? They don't have to. Why would they have to pay their taxes? Or you got, who's the little skinny dweeb that is on MSNBC? The civil rights guy. Shapiro? No, what's his name? I don't know why I can't remember these people. Probably because I put them out of my mind. But he owes, I think, $20 million in back taxes. There's no rules. Average Americans get hemmed up and they say, "Oh, you evaded paying taxes. We're gonna take everything from you." The haves and the have-nots. You have Lindsey Graham and all these other people that can, and you got Eric Swalwell and Hakeem Jeffries and Adam Schiff, that they have confirmed took money during this Venezuelan, whatever you want to call it. Been named in documents. You think anything will happen to them? No. And when they start talking about things in Congress related to insider trading and getting rid of it, they threaten to recess and send people home so that they can't vote on making it illegal for insider trading to happen in Congress. Haves, have-nots. We're slaves to a system. And so you want to know why I'm pissed off? I'm pissed off because I can see it. You guys can all see it. And we feel hopeless and helpless to the entire situation. We thought that we got President Trump into office and that he would assign really good people and they would do the bidding of the American people. And what has happened? The opposite. Now, at the same time, there's good things that get done that is collateral damage around the edges to make it look like things are getting better. But are they really getting better? Crime is down 30%. Okay, crime is down 30%. Let's say crime is down 30%. They victimized people for 4 years. I've got some stories that I'm going to put up today, and we have a guest today. So we're gonna just talk about all of it. We're going to take the gloves off, and I'm going to keep talking about the truth that you have to hear. I'm going to calm down a little bit, though, because I do get really I just know too much. It's the idea that you can see the things in front of you. You can see dead people. People have said that to me before. Joe, you see dead people. I do. Close my eyes. I can kind of figure something out very quickly. But let's talk about what's happened over the next couple days. And how it affects you. It mostly doesn't. The American people are not feeling, there's no confidence that people are feeling. We put out one job application, and as of this morning, there was 3,700 applicants for one job. One job, 3,700 people. I've never even seen it like this before. It's crazy. A person that we exited out of the company who had been here for quite some time can't find a job. That was 17 months ago. And by the way, if you work for me, you're more than qualified. You're more than qualified to work for anyone. But let's talk about some of the stuff that's happened out there. U.S. forces seized a Venezuelan oil tanker. They basically had 1.1 million barrels of sanctioned crude funding Hezbollah and Iran's terror machine. Zero resistance, maximum message. Kash Patel announces the takedown while Trump hints at even bigger plays. Back here, though, the betrayal is much deeper. Georgia's Secretary of State has refused to hand over voter rolls to the DOJ. They are signaling that states are basically in an active coup against the U.S. government. Smartmatic's Venezuelan engineer ran elections in Texas. And TSA whistleblowers exposed suitcases of cash and passports flowing through Minneapolis unchecked. This isn't incompetence. I just want you to know it's not incompetence. It's an insurrection. Let's call it what it is. It's an insurrection. We're going to bring in a J6er because as we start walking down this path, J6ers have long had problems getting justice. Years they spent in jail. Years they spent over and over and over again trying to fight for their freedom in kangaroo courts where judges threw the book at them. Judges threw the book at them on charges, 1512 charges, they were later found to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. What they have done to the American families is absolutely abhorrent. They've turned us into absolute slaves. So we're going to talk to Don Workman. He's a decorated warrior. He's a J6 patriot. His home was raided by the regime and he was fully pardoned by Donald Trump. He doesn't pull any punches on where we are in America and the fact that we've lost our way. And it's all tied to rigged elections. They sabotage our economies. The Fed dropped yesterday by 1/4 point. And you know what happened to the market for mortgages? Nothing. Because pigs get fat and we get whatever's left. And look, I'm saying this from a position of being able to look and have conversations with different businesses that are seeing negative or positive regression. Either they're doing well or they're not doing well. And I'm telling you right now, as I sit here and talk to you, that's why I told you buy silver, buy gold, buy commodities. Because I can see something that's coming. Something is coming. Do I think the market is going to absolutely collapse? I just don't. You know, there's too many moving parts and too many things going on. Now it may eventually collapse. But I'm talking about the things that are important to the American people to give them back their voice. Those are the things that haven't been done. The things that pad the pockets of the guys at Wall Street and giving money out, giving pork out to different countries, 800 million to one country, 400 million to another, giving money to Afghanistan and Iraq, and of your hard-earned money, by the way. They just give it away like it's candy. So we're going to talk to Don a little bit about that as well. Before I bring him on, I want to put this up there. This is, let's just go ahead and play it. This is the U.S. seizing Venezuelan oil tanker. Let's go play it. I know, I see. They dropped some guys from the helicopter and they took it. They're like, yep, this will be ours. Looks like some merchant marines are on the deck. They're telling the guys, yeah, come on out here for a minute. So this is them taking control of the tanker. Doesn't look like they faced a whole lot of opposition. 1.1 million barrels of oil. It's pretty awesome. So let's talk about who talked about all this information. The FBI and the partners executed a search warrant on a crude oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. It's been used in recent years for illicit shipping networks supporting foreign terrorist organizations. Let's take this. This is President Trump's response to this.
In the seizure of this tanker, what happens to the oil on this ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it was going? Was it going
Follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're
Cuba?
gonna. I assume we're gonna keep the oil.
Mr. President, on Fed Chair, Kevin House.
I assume we're going to keep the oil. It sounds like a great idea. But I'm going to say something else related to that. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. It's the elections. You know it's the elections. You know that they were basically the honeypot or the point of all the bad things that happened in Central and South and North America. But let's just get to it. Let's just get to the part where we declare the Insurrection Act and move on. So this is, by the way, Rasmussen Reports put this up there. The Secretary of State told the DOJ to pound sand when she asked for the voter rolls required available to DOJ under federal HAVA law. Okay? I mean, this is right out of Colorado's playbook. They're all talking to each other. They all know. Remember game theory. One person actually falls, they all fall, and they know it. So they're going to maintain this tight formation, Democrats and Republicans, because they're wings of the same bird. They're all in on it. Remember when Lindsey Graham just fist bumped on the floor? Was it Ilhan Omar? They got a club. They got a club, and you're not in it. You're not in it. So I said, let's just get to it. Let's just actually have the Insurrection Act. Just sign it and be done. Let's go. And people are like, oh, it's going to cause a lot of harm to what we're trying to accomplish as a country. People are going to suffer. What do you think is going to happen when there is no country? And this is the part that I get really twisted about, is that you have influencers that are walking past this stuff that are out there like, oh, everything's fine, everything's great. They did the same thing when it was J6ers. When it was convenient to talk about J6ers, they did. When it's convenient to put out a post because, hey, you know what, I need to hit my mark and get some more, thumbs up. We'll talk about Tina Peters. Tina Peters is still in jail a year later. 15 months later, 14 months later. She's still in jail. And no progress has been made because nobody cares about law and order. We're in a lawless society. Just do whatever you want. I'm not okay with taking a tanker because, frankly, under what authority? And if you could do that and you have authority, why can't you get a Gold Star mom out of jail? You could take a tanker from Venezuela, but you cannot get a 70-year-old Gold Star mom out of what can only be described as the crime of the century from 2020, the unraveling of it, that they basically have said nothing to see here, even though there's a crap load of evidence. So I put up this post, and look, I'm not anti-government. The Bible is very clear. Give up to Caesar what is Caesar's. But I put up this post, and then we're going to go ahead and bring Don in, and we're going to talk about how we fix it. I said income tax is a slave tax. Property tax proves you own nothing and rent it from the government. Elections are a complete mirage, fraudulent end to end. The MSM, the mainstream media, is a bully pulpit of liars, serving the devil itself. Good morning. Just a few inconvenient truths. And yes, we are powerful beyond measure. We have Jesus, and yet we are powerful among measure. Look, I believe that we have God on our side, but we're really not acting like it. We're not doing the things that are necessary. We certainly have ineffective leadership that are inside of our government other than President Trump. And you say that the borders are closed, that's because you had them open. So you open the borders, you cause a crisis in the country, and then someone has to come in and be the hero and close the borders. They should never have been open to begin with. We should never have had to deal with it to begin with. We shouldn't have had to deal with fentanyl inside of our borders. We shouldn't. You shouldn't have been able to ship in millions of pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill the entire population of the United States. You shouldn't be able to do it. And the fact that it can be done means that you allowed it to happen. And if you want to talk about all the other things that we deal with, we create those problems just so we can solve them. How many millions of people died in Ukraine? Because we went to war and then we're like, hey, we need to get out of this war. We don't have any interest for it. You just killed 12 million people, 10 million people, whatever it is. Millions of people died. And yet we sit here on the sidelines and we say, yeah, we're finally going to get to a peace deal. That little short midget still won't have an election. He won't have an election. He's using the war to justify not having an election, and yet he could get to the place where it's peace, but he won't sign that either. Just more rhetoric of, oh yeah, we just got to go. And now he's almost in a fight with another country other than Russia. Because people, once they get power, don't want to let it go. Let's just get to. Do we have one more post? Okay, let's go and put it up. Okay, I'm going to play this. This is Smartmatic engineer, was the Tarrant County Elections Administrator, being kicked out of the Philippines for accusations of voter fraud. Every single person that is involved in all of this has been accused of voter fraud in different countries. Mongolia, Serbia, the United States, the Philippines. I mean, it is really bad when everyone can see it, and yet they continue to be allowed to do what they're doing inside of our country. We are being held hostage by people that have zero guilt for stealing your voice and treating you like a slave. Let's go and play that video.
Well, as I started working more and more on the party, I had people coming up and telling me, John, there's some real issues here you should be aware of. And so I started looking around, and sure enough, Hyder Garcia was a Venezuelan American. He had worked for Hugo Chavez for Smartmatic for 12 years as one of their lead software engineers. He then left Venezuela, took his right-hand man, a gentleman named Troy Habbard, whose wife was a Venezuelan woman who nannied for Hyder Garcia's kids, and they went to the Philippines, where he oversaw their elections. Their election was so rife with fraud that he got called out in front of Parliament. And if people will go look at this Hyder Garcia Philippines Parliament hearing, they excoriated him, because then they basically said, look, you stole our election and we know you did. I mean, the whole reason why Smartmatic was invented was because Hugo Chavez was facing a referendum where he was going to be recalled.
And we know this factually now. I mean, we know this.
Right. Right. He had three gentlemen who developed a software, platform, and they used originally lottery machines that they brought over from Italy, I believe, that were touchscreen, and they developed the first electronic voting systems that their country ever used, and he survived the referendum. Well, they were so happy with that success that they decided they would start to export it around. And in fact, Smartmatic, which was started in the U.S., was started by Venezuelans. Now, they've had all kinds of crazy cases where they've tried to divest ownership or sell it to this party or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still the original source code. It's been modified. It's in what's in Sequoia, which the state of California banned. It's what's in Dominion, which, was a company that started up in Canada. It's what now is in Hart InterCivic, which is what Tarrant County uses. So, okay. That's a little troubling that somehow a gentleman from Venezuela who worked on the original voting machines for Hugo Chavez went to the Philippines, literally got banished from the country, and it somehow ends up heading up elections for Tarrant County, Texas. A little coincidental, I suppose.
Yet it's not coincidental. By the way, the first time that Tarrant County went from red to blue was under the direction of Hyder Garcia. See, because of how the systems are built in the United States, you have the ability to hang and hide massive amounts of fraud. It's what they did in Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, New Mexico. Every state is fraudulent. Every single state, not one state, not two states. We don't have free and fair elections in any state at any level. The person that you have that is in your town council, you don't know if they were fairly elected. You don't know, because they can pick and choose what they turn on and off. They can pick and choose what elections they can steal, what they can focus on, and they take them all. And Miami was just the perfect example of that. So Don Workman, welcome to the show.
Joe, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you. Last couple of days have been a little tough. I've been a little bit on fire. There's a lot to talk about. President Trump is signaling that he can't appoint anyone because you have basically the rhinos and the deep state that are controlling everything, running the clock, and making it impossible for him to do what's necessary. It smells eerily similar to 2017.
Yes. In fact, it smells exactly like 2017. We're at a point where somebody's going to have to do something drastic. And to be fair, last time I was saying this sort of thing out loud on a regular basis, someone showed up at my house with a tactical team. So maybe I shouldn't. Yeah. But, there is there's you said not all that long ago, we should use the Insurrection Act. Given that this is foreign influence, and it is, no two ways about it.
Well, it's domestic and foreign. These are domestic terrorists that we have in our country. They call themselves Americans, right?
Indeed. But give me just a second here. So, given that this is foreign countries for certain that are not friendly to the United States, if you are functionally providing aid and comfort to the enemies of the United States, the only constitutional death penalty is for treason. And those are literally the words that the Constitution uses that says this is what we do with you if you do these things. And here's the deal. If we want to be serious, if we want to actually stop these kinds of things, I don't care if someone hangs from a rope. I don't care if we put them in the gas chamber. Lay the treason charges, and someone's going to flip in 20 minutes, okay? And we will know everything. It will be public. It wouldn't actually take that much. It would just have to be, we're not playing games anymore, right? And a big part of the problem is that we're still playing games, and everybody knows it. We're all at that haves versus have-nots. At the have level, everybody knows that the worst that's going to happen is they're going to pay some fine that is 0.01% of their net worth, that they will negotiate down in court to a third of that, right? This is, if you actually want to turn around where the country is going, you can't play that game anymore. No one cares about an SEC violation, right? It was Sam Bankman-Fried was supposed to spend 30 years in jail. The guy's running a company right now, right? Pretty obviously, if somebody doesn't stand up and say, okay, legitimately, no more, we're not doing this anymore, then yeah, Tina Peters is going to stay in jail. Yeah, all the people who stole elections are probably going to be posting about it on X or Facebook in the next 5 years about how they saved democracy as we're all going to prison. And that's a somewhat likely scenario, right? If the left takes power in 2028 or 2029, that's basically what's on the table for you, is they're going to start bragging. And if you don't believe this, Time Magazine has an article talking about how they fortified the 2020 election. Yeah. And it's pretty unironically, hey, we stole the election, right? Between propaganda in the media, between making sure that the right people could vote is basically what they said. And look, as Joe rightly covers every single day, Dominion was the cherry on top. It made sure 100% this was going to go the way they wanted. And that was fine. We let them publish this article, and no one said or did anything. And that can't continue.
Okay, so everything you said is true. A vast majority of the people on the left and the right, doesn't matter which side you're on, are being fueled and pushed towards influencers and people that have an opinion, yes, and that are largely supported probably by the same people that are saying, I need you to sow division, I need you to sow malcontent, create chaos, because we need opportunity in that chaos. And so go start a fire over there so we can work on what we're working on over here. And in large part, that's what we've dealt with. We've been dealing with this for a long period of time. And it's what it's done is it's created this fatigue. I mean, look at what happened in Miami, right? Look at what happened you can start picking and choosing all the elections. They're creating a narrative that President Trump is not popular, when the people that are not popular are the people that he's appointed in positions of trust and authority. The people that should be not popular are going to be the politicians that are, the House Majority Leader and the Senate Majority Leader, who are allowing this slow walk of death for the American people while patting their own pockets. Those are the people that are the enemies to the United States, not President Trump. President Trump is the one that takes all the punches, and they allow it to happen. And so I got to say to myself, is President Trump in on it, or is he just showing his frustration? Well, then he was on a hot mic. President Trump doesn't make hot mic mistakes. He doesn't do it. In the 4 years previously, he had a hot mic event twice in the first 4 years.
Yeah.
Is it a hot mic this once? And in this one, it was telling. He's like, I can't appoint anyone. They slow walk it, run the clock, and then we can't get any progress. He directs people that work for him, including Congress, like, just end the filibuster and get out there and let's get some stuff done. And they're like, no, we can't do it. What do you think the left is going to do when it comes time for them to get there?
Oh, they told you last time, right? The Kamala Harris grand plan to pack the Supreme Court We're going to have universal health care, which is going to be horrifically terrible. We're going to have unlimited open immigration. I mean, so much of this, they just told you straight to your face. Look, we're going to rip the country down to the studs. And we're going to replace it with something else. And it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly. When they are, whatever you think of the people that were the history of this country, and I mean that legitimately. I don't care if you love them or hate them. They are the history of this country. And one of the, to be fair, middle ground things they did last time was say, we're just getting rid of it. You're not allowed to see it. You can't know about it. We're rewriting the history so that basically everything the United States has ever done is terrible. The whole point is to rip every single thing you've ever known down and to demoralize you while doing it, because demoralized people don't fight back. Solzhenitsyn pretty notoriously wrote that if the Red Army had to worry about just 1 in 100 people fighting back, then that entire revolution probably would have gone different. And in the country with the most guns that has ever existed on planet Earth, you can't have a populace that wants to fight back if you want to have a revolution that rips the country down to the studs. Everybody's going to die, and everyone knows it.
All right, but that brings me back to the World Economic Forum saying they wanted to kill the population off by the tune of 95%. They want to take it down from 8 billion people to 500 million people. And they get to pick and choose, again, the haves versus the have-nots. And none of these influencers are out there talking about this. Charlie Kirk started talking about it. Charlie Kirk would go meet with the politicians. He would have these conversations with the politicians. And I'm going to tell you this, Don. If meeting with the politicians got him anywhere, it got him killed.
Probably, yes.
Because they literally said, okay, this guy has young people listening to him, and he's walking in here saying we should probably hire these people. They'd be good for us. So then all the politicians got together and said, Turning Point has too much power, is doing too much. And by the way, this Charlie Kirk guy, he's really, really smart, and he's got a heart for Jesus, and he does all the things that he's supposed to do to head north. We got to stop him. He's got too many people head north. And it got him killed. And so I don't really have an interest, frankly, myself, in debating the Mike Johnsons of the world.
Oh, no.
Right? I don't have any, or the Lindsey Grahams, or the Kash Patel. I mean, why? All you've proven is you're the horns of the same devil that has stuck the American people up the ass for the last decade. No, thank you.
I have not advocated debating most people for quite some time for very similar reasons, right? You can debate amongst your friends about what the right course of action is.
Yes.
But after that, don't bother, right? You're not convincing, Lindsey Graham, right? You're not convincing Lindsey Graham of anything, right? Unless you're giving him money and then you're convincing him to take your money. That's it. That's all you'll ever convince him of. And nothing else. So don't hope to get what you paid for. And this is kind of the problem that we have, is that at every turn, it seems like we're jammed up. It seems like there's nothing to do 100%. And nowhere to go. And there are answers, but they're not fun. They're not exciting, right? They're very boring. They're tedious, and they take a long time, and no one wants any of that. Not that necessarily any of these people care, right? But if Lindsey Graham's local sheriff is arresting him every weekend, okay, eventually he's going to end up stuck there, and he's going to be not a problem, and he's going to be removed from the Senate, and on and on and on. But somebody needs to actively go, probably lie, let's be honest, run for sheriff down there and say, yeah, I would love to toe the party line, right? And say and do all the right things, so all the right people say, yeah, that's fine, it's just a local sheriff, who cares? And then every single time you see Lindsey Graham, put him in cuffs. Every time. I don't care if he's getting a sandwich. I don't care if he's going to the bathroom. I don't care if he's having one of his crazy parties of infamy. I don't care what it is. Every time you see Lindsey Graham, put him in cuffs. That's it, right? And it's going to take some not awesome sounding tactics like that to stop this madness. And by the way, he's not alone. You can do this in 50,000 places, right? And it is the touchable areas like that, right? Where if we really wanted to do something, if we wanted to act as insurrection-y as they act, this is what we'd be doing. But I won't kid you, save some of that anger for the our side guys who like to sit on the sidelines, right? Because they're not as guilty, but the game that is, I just want to get mad at things and never do anything about it is not as harmful, but it's going to be the keystone of the process.
Okay, so we talk about the get mad at things and maintain civility and having conversations and debating. Brother, we have debated the ridiculous for so long; it's getting to the point of ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
and
agree.
We had Pam Bondi yesterday. Look, we've forgotten more about what they've done to us since 2020 than we could ever remember. Remember, they blew up a data center in Nashville, Tennessee. They blew it up, right? And they said it was a crazy guy that did it. And it happened to be the place where you had data that was stored for, guess what? Who was it? Dominion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AT&T data center. Oh, just wiped it out. I mean, we could go down the line with all the things that they've done to us. COVID, Wuhan Labs, and the fact that it came from there. And somebody actually leaked it. And then when it finally got out that it was leaked there, they said it was debunked. And then we had horse paste for ivermectin. And then we got to wear the mask. And, just 2 weeks to stop the spread. And we could talk about the election systems and how they went down. It's like, no big deal. We just had to fix these little things and just, push an update, right? Creating an environment where none of the systems work fully so they can implement, add in, hit rootkits, make things work, fix elections, add in databases. I mean, it's gotten to the point where we've debated the ridiculous, and now we debate sex.
No,
we debate sex.
That actually should have been everybody's line of stop debating, right? No more debate. Look down. End of debate. That's it. There's nothing more, nothing less.
Don, you know what I care about? And this is going to be antithetical to even having this conversation with you.
Uh-oh.
You know who I care about? No, I mean, this is a serious thing. Like, this will be really revealing for all of you, and it should bear fruit in what I've talked to you about previously. Not just you, but everyone else. I don't give a shit about the suburbs. Yeah. Right? I don't. I give a shit about the poorest 40% among us. And then prior to 2020, that's where I concentrated 100% of my efforts. I was giving away scholarships to kids that were the poorest in the poorest communities for private school because the public schools were shit. I was helping even people that were here illegally get food, or working at food banks and making sure we could help them get access to certain facilities. And you say, Joe, why would you do that? A simple reason. What they tried on them, they're bringing to the suburbs.
Yeah.
Right? They're bringing it there. They did it to them first. They eroded their education system where the average education level or proficiency level of reading is on an 8th grade level, where less than 30% of the entire population graduates from high school. This is true, right? Substandard food.
No, you're not wrong at all.
Opportunity. They're not going to work at United Airlines. They're not lawyers. They're not judges. They're taking stupid asses from the suburbs that they can groom through a school, giving them opportunities so they can control them because they're used to the good old life. And then the people that do get out of the inner city that are given opportunities, they grab a hold of those guys as well, the ones that won the lottery, and they indoctrinate them into, it's the people in the suburbs that kept you down, right? These are all racist people. I care about the 40% that's poorest among us. Those are the ones that are most deceived. Those are the ones that are most at risk. And our entire system is now bent on pushing more people to that 40%.
Yeah. No, that's a decent summary. And you're not wrong. And forgive me, because my observation over many years is that we seem to be running into a point with a lot of that, not all, for sure, but a lot of that 40%, where it's no longer, I am in this circumstance, how do I get out of it? It's, I'm in this circumstance and I want to stay. And I think not only are we trying to push more people into that bottom 40%, so it becomes 50, 60, 80, but we are trying to move them in there with the mentality that I am here and I want to stay here, right? The government shutdown and the discussions of EBT should be a super example of this. One, I think America found a lot out about EBT that it didn't know.
Oh, a ton.
But two, the number of people who brazenly took to social media and were like, of course I'm spending my EBT. Of course I'm just, I make this much money and I deserve it and this, that, and the other. Okay, I guess, technically speaking, they're not the worst off people in the country. I know people who work who don't make as much money as some of those people, but they're not ever getting out of there. They're not ever walking away. That dependency, if we have 80% of the country that dependent, nothing ever changes for any reason ever, no matter what.
Man, I tell you what, I agree with you fully. But you can't capture people who aren't captured, and how we know that we're a captured people, captured society, is because the scraps that they give to the inner city are now not enough for them to live on, and so when they go and institutionally start stealing and acting like savages, the judge is just like, okay, let's put them back on the street. They'll excuse their behavior as systemic. But they created the system. You could solve this problem very easily. You could change the education system in this country overnight. You could eliminate food deserts, and you could create an opportunity district that isn't padding the pockets of politicians. That's actually pushing money into the community so you can innovate at every level. But they won't do it. They will not do it. And we sit back and we watch it happen. And we spend most of our time talking about shit that doesn't matter. I don't give a shit about a dude dressing up like a woman. Just don't get into women's sports. And if you walk into a women's locker room, I'm going to drag you out by your head, right? And slam, and I'm going to curb check you. What? I mean,
it's whatever is the applicable answer.
That's my applicable answer.
And this is, the bread and circus problem is real. And this was a hard-earned lesson on my behalf, because I foolishly spent a lot of years thinking that a lot of people really just didn't know what to do. And if they knew what to do, then they would go do it. And I'm not calling out anyone personally. If you, dear audience member, feel convicted about this, then that's on you. But feel free to change your behavior accordingly. The simple reality is that a huge portion of the people who pay any attention to politics want the bread and circus as opposed to anything beneficial.
Right.
This entire lesson for me culminated in a friend of mine shortly after I got raided by the feds, saying to me one day, yeah, Don, I used to pay a lot of attention to politics, but how does this affect you personally? And that was just, as soon as I thought of that, like, I stopped paying any attention. I went, well, if you don't know how this has affected you personally, what were you even watching? And then I went back and I looked through everybody else, who was talking about whether or not there was a transgender who filmed themselves in front of a mirror and said that I can go anywhere I want, and they're dunking on that for algorithmic preference for 2 months, or the people who have got the single slide of something terrible happening, and they're crying about that for algorithmic preference. No one wants anything done. No one wants, no one is discussing actual how do we stop this kind of topics. It's just, look at this thing. I have posted this thing. Now give me views so I can get money. And if that's what you're paying attention to, yeah, how does this affect you personally? It's a very reasonable question. But the thing is, the only thing that it is doing at that point is pissing you off. Right, back to the just get angry about things for no reason, and stay that way. And being pissed off just for the sake of being pissed off, you're just as controllable as anybody else. You're just 100%. As controllable as the demotivated.
I agree with that. But I mean, that's where you have to get to the place where you stop the debate of the ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Let's stop debating the ridiculous and let's continue to push and talk about truth, right? And the truth is that we have a vacuum that's been created, and you have the suicide kings on one side, the people that really just want to stop progress at every level, at every way they can, while at the same time expecting us to operate with decorum and sit down and shut up and, oh, let's smile and nod and look at what we're doing. We dropped that, we dropped, what's it called, crime by 30%. I mean, Don, these aren't real statistics. They're not real. They do not affect the pocketbooks of the American people. They do not put more opportunities on the plate of the American people. And until we start actually servicing the problems and not the symptoms of the problems, we are going to be right back into another J6. Count on it. Coming elections in 2028.
We seem perpetually required to learn some of the lessons of the 90s. It's interesting to watch people talk about the 90s if you lived it and you know they didn't. And you know they didn't because people will tell you, oh, but everything was all perfect all the time back in the 90s. The LA riots were 1992, okay? The country was not perfect. The reason Rudy Giuliani got a career as mayor with broken windows policing is because New York was a disaster
100%.
and not a little bit of a disaster. We know at this point for certain. Look, yeah, you do have to come down hard on people to get them to stop just being criminals. Now, does this mean that you need to, I don't know, arrest every single person who's ever littered? No, that's not what it means. But if you punch an old lady in the face for no reason, you're going to prison. Okay? And this simple mentality, if we wanted to get crime down, that's what we'd be doing. As to what services Americans' pocketbooks, and I got sad news. Things are going to be hard for a little while, whether anybody likes it or not. And I know, Trump likes to get out there and say the affordability crisis is fake, but the M2 stat, and for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's all the U.S. dollars in existence, right? The M2 stat for the past 5 years is basically a vertical line. And for anybody who doesn't know what that means inflation is still coming. And there's no way to stop it. There's nothing you can do. The money has already been printed. It's already in the supply, and it's going to keep going for a while. And the honest reality of this is it doesn't matter how much Trump is fighting it today. Some of this damage has already been done, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. It's a freight train 6 feet from you. It's going to happen. And so unless we pretty literally start effectively burning pallets of cash in the digital world, it's going to keep going like this for a while. And somebody needs to be able to say that because this game where, if you just hope to continue living paycheck to paycheck for the next 6 years, everything will be fine because inflation's down, people are going to lose their homes. People are going to lose everything they have if you're not planning for this coming. So plan for it. And hope that he is serious, that he is fighting, and that this is on its way out. Because the worst case scenario is you plan for it some, and then you end up with some spare money to do whatever you want with. But if you don't plan for it, it's going to be a hard time.
All right, so let's say we plan for it. Let's say that we go, okay, we're planning for it. We're going. What does that look like? I mean, Don,
So
you got to. I mean, you're a J6er that went through getting your house raided, that was charged with crimes against America, basically.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does it look like? Like you've had a lot of time to think about this. What are we?
Sure.
What are we doing? Right.
So for the financial things, right? This is going to be tailored to each of you individually. Some, but in all honesty, get any asset that is not U.S. dollar and hold it. I would not buy euros because they're going through the same problem. But any asset that is not U.S. dollar, and hang on to it. And I don't care if you're buying $10 at a time, right? I got a friend that's been buying $50 a month of silver for like 5 years. And he's not buying anywhere near as much silver as he was 5 years ago. That's for sure.
No, he still is. I think silver goes to $200.
Oh, no, I mean in raw weight. It's not as much as it used to be.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's actually double. It's half.
And so, pretty much anything will do. To the point where in the not too distant future, it might not be a bad idea to go down to Home Depot and buy, a foot of pure copper wire at a time. Okay, because that copper wire is still just going to be copper wire. It's going to hold value. Don't actually do that. That's probably the worst thing you could do.
How much copper
probably a ton.
Yeah, I buy copper. You know why I buy it?
This retains value.
Because there's a reason why they made pennies copper at one point.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, and nickel's out of nickel.
Yeah, nickel. I mean,
is out of silver.
Everybody goes, oh, Joe, it's not the same. Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. No, that's exactly why. I mean, that's why there were gold coins, silver coins. There has at various times in history been tin coins when tin was incredibly rare. Despite that you probably have 8,000 pounds of aluminum in your house right now, there was a time where aluminum jewelry was the most expensive thing on earth. And so people were buying that for the exact same reasons. But in the world of, how do you prepare for things? Everybody really likes to ask in specific, how do you prepare for the feds coming to get you? And there are two options effectively. You accept what's going to happen, or Waco, and that's basically it, because they're going to keep coming. If you want to know how to fight off the federal government, it's move to another country and join their military, and good luck to you. The federal government's very good at killing enemy militaries. So, they understand that there are, the serenity prayer will serve you well here. There are some things you can take care of. There are some things you can't take care of. And the ability to know the difference is what's going to cut stress in your life every day for the rest of it. There's a simple reality that if they sent Delta to my house to come and get me, I'm going to die. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
Right?
But I'm okay with Jesus. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'll see him soon. That's hopefully I have some an extra 30 seconds on my way out the door to grab some time on my knees and say, hey, I'll see you soon. Forgive these people, for they know not what they do. And that'll be what it is.
I won't do that. I'll pray to God. I'll say, God, use me as a warrior. I'll put on the full armor of God. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people have to grow a conscience in this country that is not tied to the dollar. It's not tied to saying I'm just doing my job, right? That the idea of that is what has destroyed the fiber of everything that this country stands for.
That's absolutely true. So understand there's very specific circumstances for this, right? Which is to say that there are times where there's nothing you can do. And if there's literally anything you can do the anything. There is, there's a speech I used to give that if you want to come kill me, right, and you don't wake me up at 2 a.m. with a gun already pointed at my forehead, right, then by all means, come to kill me. You'll get me. I'm not Rambo. There's no plot armor for me. But I will die in a mountain of brass. And the simple reason for that is that, no, I'm not interested in surrendering if there's anything I can do. And if there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can do, right? But, and some people will happily tell me that, well, Don, but you just said you take a knee, forgive them for they don't know what they do. And that's true, right? If there's literally nothing I can do, then that's the answer.
But that's not even what the scripture, I mean, look, Don, Jesus can do that, right? But he also flipped over tables, and he was not a meek, he was not the stories that probably aren't told about Jesus are probably more the warriors of the reason why they killed him and hung him by a cross, right? They crucified Jesus for, I don't believe that Jesus was, you don't tell the story about flipping tables and telling them to sell your cloak and buy a sword because he expects you to turn the other cheek. And I've studied it biblically going all the way back to when it was Aramaic to Hebrew to Greek. And, we've misinterpreted a lot of the Bible because we take it in small sections. We don't look at it holistically and say, look, when the apostles went and told the stories of Jesus, they too were crucified, right?
Yeah.
These people were warriors.
Again, understand that if you are tied to the headsman's block, right, and he's holding the axe, that's your time to say, well, I'm going to pray for my enemies because you told me to, right? If you are not tied to the headsman's block and he's not holding the axe, then yeah, fight to the death, right? And this is because, by the way, no one will have any mercy for you, right? There is not going to be a time where the guys with the guns are at your door and what they think is let's hesitate, right? They're going to kill you. But by all means, you fight, and this is the thing. I can't individually give you some broad stroke rule that is going to tell you which time is which. I can tell you that the more prepared you are for every single thing in your life, the more options you will have in the worst situations that you could possibly be in. And that is just simply true, right? There's the feeling of having no options is what creates the hopelessness that makes every situation seem like you're tied to the headsman's block. And if you feel like that, what you need to do is go learn any single thing that makes you more capable. Do any single thing that makes you more capable, because you will feel like that less and less every day that goes by. As to Jesus and being a substantially more active person than this passive thing that we have painted him out to be. I absolutely despise it with you. I am in total agreement with you. It is terrible. There is a particularly good series of reasons to be armed, to be willing to use those arms, to have the knowledge to use those arms. If you're just a passive bump on a log, then you're going to get run over by anyone who comes by.
Look,
and that's not a good thing.
There's a little bit of truth to the fact that we don't have F-18s and we don't have tanks, right? There's a little bit of truth to what Obama or Biden said when he said that. But I just want to point something out. We're not violent people.
No.
I'm not violent. You're not violent. Nobody in J6 other than the FBI and Antifa were violent. And they're one and the same, by the way. We're violent.
The overlap is huge.
Like, we're not, no part of us wants to go out there and create violence. You know what we want to do? We want to get back to the three things that I think everybody wants: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
I don't know of anybody that doesn't want life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You don't see LeBron James gangbanging because he came from the streets of Cleveland and going out and gangbanging when he's trying to make $100 million. Something happens to you fundamentally when you turn, and all of a sudden, now you're successful. Now you've been given access to opportunity, right? It changes you.
This is going to be our problem. And I don't have a solution to this, which usually makes me not want to talk about it much.
Yeah.
A huge portion of the people who love this country, who want to save this country from falling into a pit, are in fact out searching for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Hopefully they've still got life. Hopefully they're good there. But, it is liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And one of the things that you need to know, and what I've come to the conclusion is just the oldest battle on earth, it is good versus evil down to the bone.
Oh, we know it.
Is while you are out searching for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the snake is over there convincing your wife to eat the apple. The snake is over there convincing your neighbor to eat the apple. That is what is happening. And so, as much as, as the memes go, I wish I could just grill. I can't. And if you have any actual love of this country, and what you find yourself doing is saying, yeah, well, somebody else will take care of it. I understand that's probably one of the most un-American sayings that can exist, is somebody else will take care of it, right? Is this country was founded on you will take care of it. That's the whole point. And that you should feel some responsibility to take care of it. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and cure cancer tomorrow or anything else ridiculous, but whatever you can do, you should do.
All right, so I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. But Don, let's be honest, okay? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, you have people that are asleep and you have people that are awake. And people that are awake are still trying to do what they can to get life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but it's just a little duller because you can see dead people.
Yeah.
You see society the way it truly is. And so that makes it a little bit more difficult. And then most people, by the way, they can see life for what it is and see what's happening, also have a great love or affection for other people. In other words, they see the suffering of other people and they don't want to see that anymore. So they want to do something to help those people.
One of the general things that I think we ought to start agreeing to is that maybe we're the generation that doesn't get life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we don't get it, so the next 50 can have it. Because today, we go fight the fight. And that is the sacrifice we make for all of our children, forever.
That's a novel idea. I kind of live that idea. Maybe it's just... But we also recognize that the people that we have in leadership are betraying us, like every day, like left and right. Yes. They're betraying us, and they're telling us it's complicated. You don't understand. I'm like, you know what? And maybe President Trump, by the way, should just put people in positions of trust and authority across the government that are like him, just business guys that understand things, that frankly are just tired. Just put all them into those positions, right?
Anything that is not a DC creature would probably serve him well. You could go pick up a random guy off the street in Alabama and probably get better results than people who've been in DC for 30 years.
Yeah. I agree with you fully. All right, so we look at the social decay, we look at the moral. Yesterday I had on Dr. Federer, and we've gone through and we've kind of talked about, he's got a book he writes about socialism. And there's another book that we've been talking about that I've read called Sex and Culture by J.D. Unwin. It dates back to the 1930s. It's a really good book, right?
Yeah.
And inside the book it says specifically that you can't come back from that decay, right? That historically you can't come back from it, that it basically is the demise of society. So I look at us right now, and there's something I want to share, and I think that I have it. Let's see if I found it real quick. No, I don't have it. Sorry. I don't know why I get a cough every time I come on the show. Let me find it. Because I think that I want to bring this up, and maybe okay guys, I put it in the comments. All right. Is that, let's say we don't have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Let's take it down the path of what you're saying. No life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We get to the fight. We grab our muskets, which I hope we will not have to get to. We know that our...
I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that there's a little bit of misery in the fight against evil, right? It's inherent that you're going to have to put in the hard work. It's like buying a piece of land that's just all forest, and you're trying to actually, plant beans. You're not going to be able to do it until you cut down all the trees and get rid of all the roots, right? You're just not going to fundamentally be able to do it. But let's hypothetically say, I said muskets because that's the lowest lethal force that you could use that is not systematic, right?
Sure.
I mean, semi-automatic weapons is a little bit systematic. You get from there, you go up to cannons. I mean, we can escalate it as much as you want. F-18 drones that, carry around machine guns. Let's say that we decide to get out there. There is a problem that we face, and I think this is why it's so difficult to overcome this, is that we know that the leadership is chosen based on their courage, based on their constitution, what they're made of, because all the politicians collectively look the same.
Yes.
Right? I mean, am I wrong?
No, it's the through lines are incredible. You're looking at 60 of the same guy anytime.
And you have some outliers that I think have courage, that have done the right thing, that have stayed outside the lines. You had Matt, what's the guy's name? Down in Florida. Matt
Gaetz.
Gaetz, yeah. You had Matt Gaetz. You had MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You had Massey. I mean, you've got people I won't even put Jim Jordan in the same room with him because I remember having a conversation with his staff, and they're just a bunch of monkeys, terrible people.
Well, that's another thing that at some point we have to address as a country, but I won't kid you, it's sort of a back burner issue, which is the rollover staff for all of these people. You know, there are some staffers who've been working in D.C. since I was 5 years old, right? Now, they've been through 20 politicians, but they're the guys that are telling politicians what the politicians know, right? And so, in effect, yeah, they're telling them what to do. And these things, it's going to take a lot of time to get down to that granularity. But carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
So then I want to point something out that I think is really important. And that is, you have the haves and the have-nots. Okay, we've established that. So I'm trying to paint a picture for you. We got the haves, the have-nots. The have-nots, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. It doesn't even matter if you're wealthy or not wealthy. That does not delineate whether or not you are a have or a have-not. Haves are the people that are untouchable. They work for the government. They're the Comeys and the Brennans and the Letitia James. These are the people that have recognized that loose lips sink ships. They are a part of the evil regime, and they at all costs will protect each other and stop. Right?
Yes.
That's the haves. The have-nots are the people that actually act with virtue, because the system, the machine, wants to churn them up. It wants to catch them slipping. They get in a car accident, they want to throw the book at them, they can go to jail for 30 years. Where over here, the haves get in a car accident, say kill an entire family. This guy didn't do anything wrong, just got in an accident and almost killed himself, 30 years, right? This one over here kills an entire family, gets 6 months. Do you believe that what I'm saying is true?
Oh, no, that's true.
Okay.
That's verifiably true.
So I'm going to show you an example of that right now. Okay? I'm going to actually show you an example of this. I'm going to read something to you. Now, I'm going to take out the white, black, green, yellow. I don't care about any of that. Have-nots, right? Just have-nots. Put the picture up. Just the picture. Just the picture, please. All right. This is a guy that killed this little boy. Are you familiar with the story?
Yeah.
This is Exantus went to go visit a family in Kentucky. He went to a family's home, and he slaughtered a 6-year-old. This little boy's name's Logan Tipton. He stabbed Logan to death in Logan's own bedroom. He also attempted to murder 3 of Logan's siblings and Logan's father, stabbing a total of 5 family members. Here's how the night went in December at their home. Ronald Exantus enters the Tipton home around 4 a.m. He's carrying a large kitchen knife. He enters the bedroom of the 6-year-old Logan and his 4-year-old brother. He pulls Logan off the top bunk and quite literally slaughters him, stabbing him in the head and neck dozens upon dozens of times, violently killing him in the bloodiest possible fashion. He then stabs Logan's 4-year-old brother in the head multiple times, but the boy survives. He then enters the bedroom where Logan's 8 and 11-year-old sisters are sleeping. He stabs the 11-year-old girl multiple times in the head and torso and throws her across the room. She survives. He then stabs the 8-year-old girl multiple times in the head and the neck. She survives. The commotion wakes Logan's 13-year-old sister, who comes upon the nightmare scene and screams. The girl's scream wakes Logan's father, who comes to the family's aid. Fighting Exantus unarmed, he is stabbed multiple times, but succeedingly forces Exantus out of the home. When the case goes to trial, Exantus is found not guilty by reason of insanity for the savage murder of Logan. He's found guilty but mentally ill for the following: criminal attempt to commit murder, first-degree assault, first-degree burglary. He's sentenced to 20 years in a Kentucky prison, the Department of Corrections. He did not serve one day, nor was it on his record, for the murder of Logan. How do you feel about this so far?
We need to stop agreeing to insanity being a defense.
It's not.
Is the short answer. the lack of accountability for it, right? Because in there was not guilty by reason of insanity. Look,
Hold on.
there
Not
are
done yet.
no people. There are no people who could break into someone's house and try and kill 4 children that at some point in your description of them you wouldn't call insane. So throw him behind some bars and leave him there for the rest of his life before we get vigilantes.
Okay. It gets worse. October of this year, Ronald Exanthus is released from prison for good behavior after serving less than half his sentence. Right?
Yeah.
He relocates down to Florida and arrested a week later for failing to register as a convicted felon. And he's returned to prison in Kentucky for the parole violation. He did that on purpose, and I'll tell you why. After all this, what do you think happens to this guy?
I don't want to show busy. I was watching this play out a couple of days ago, and it's infuriating to watch these kinds of things happen.
He's scheduled to be fully released in June of 2026. No parole, nothing. He's 100% a free man. In 6 months, this monster will be as free as you and me, freer than the kids, freer than Logan, freer than the parents, freer than the children.
The other kids, yeah.
That is the haves versus the have-nots. They put this murderer back on the street. Tina Peters locked up for a 9-year sentence for getting to the bottom of election fraud, for whistleblowing. And this diabolical piece of shit doesn't even serve 10 years. I'm going to tell you something, Don. You said the word, starts with a V.
Yeah. Every day that I watch something like this go by, I understand Gary Plauché a little bit better, which for those of you who don't know is the guy in the airport that the picture goes around the internet. He killed his son's molester back in, I think, the 80s. And there seems to be some demand for these sorts of things to come back at this point. And look, for those that don't know, if you went back 100 years in this country and somebody got let out of jail for this, they were getting shot. That was what was going to happen unless they were part of the mob. That was it. And the simple reality is, no matter how rare or not rare this is, it is common enough that people who don't pay a lot of attention are starting to notice it. And so we are going to get vigilantes back. If the justice system cannot temper vengeance, right, because it's just not going to do anything, then there's not a lot of other options there. I'm not advocating this. I'm not telling you it's a good idea. I'm just telling you it's coming.
I think it's a great idea. I'll tell you it's a great idea. I'll tell you it's a great idea because, and look, I am a God-fearing man, and I struggle. I totally struggle with it. I struggle with the idea, Don. I'm just telling you right now on my own show. I struggle with the idea that vengeance belongs to the Lord. It does. But there's consequences and accountability that belong to us here. That's why we have laws.
Well, that is the whole purpose, right? And if the government's not going to do its job there, then it is just the case that at some point someone's going to do it for it. There was a cop I used to know many years ago who gave this speech that, cops don't have any extra special powers, which at the time was a little more true than it is now. We just pay them to do what we would otherwise expect citizens to do, right? So if you saw somebody stealing, you should detain them, and we should take them to jail, and all these sorts of things. And this mentality has slowly been weeded out of both cops and the populace, right? The 90s and 2000s were pretty bad for citizens' arrests and people going to jail over it. And so we've tried to make cops this magical thing. But people know good and well what is unjust. We can argue about whether or not he deserves 20 or 25 years or whatever. But if the question is, Does this guy belong in jail basically for the rest of his life? Everyone's answer is yes.
Every sane person.
Yeah.
Every sane person. But they let him out. They let this guy out. They had all the information. The parole board had all this information, and they let this murderous piece of trash out on the road.
See, and this is the other thing that is going to start coming when we get vigilantes, right? And we are. The day is coming. Is they're going to find out who's on the parole board, okay?
Yeah.
And look, in the world of existential moral correctness, I can't fault them for a minute.
No. No, you can't. And look, I don't want... You're talking to a guy that literally mentors people to get out of prison after serving 9, 8, 10-year sentences of a 20-year sentence. They serve half of it, they get out. I tell them to break off the rearview mirror. That does not define them. I had him on this show. I had Jeremy, 34 years. He got for killing a pedophile. He got 34 years and 3 months. He's probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Well,
right?
His victim choice may be relevant here.
But I mean, it is relevant. But at the same time that it's relevant, look, I just want to bring back common sense. I just want to be very focused in on the truth. And that is, anytime that you advocate for the devil, you know, Adam Smith said this: mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent.
Exactly.
Right? That's where we're at right now. Like we have Elon Musk talking about evil, President Trump talking about evil, all these people talking about evil, and this is good versus evil. Don Jr. says this person said, that person says, and then I get blasted when I say, hey, listen, I think we need to have a hanging party. I think we need to try these people for treason and hang them.
Yeah.
Right? I've been saying it for 5 years.
It's we have become incredibly soft on this front. The premise that you can do a thing other than kill a person and deserve death is something we're very societally uncomfortable with right now.
Yeah.
And
well, it's because the judiciary is rotted too, and they lie and cheat. So you have a judiciary that is letting cold-blooded killers back on the street, but at the same time is persecuting people like Tina Peters. So it is a backward system that persecutes the good inside of it. So people are uncomfortable with it because they've seen innocent loved ones that they have that get railroaded by the system. And then it railroads the good, and then it lets out the bad so that they can re-victimize the good.
Yeah. This is, again, continuing the we've been doing this a long time. Forgive me, I don't even know where to start, because this goes back quite a while. Are you familiar with the term Bronx jury?
Yeah.
For anybody not familiar with the term, it's basically no matter what the charge is, we won't convict under X, Y, and Z circumstances. And X, Y, and Z circumstances, when established, was effectively a black person kills a white person. But the premise has grown since then. And this is, you want to talk about where the division makes things ridiculous, right? Is that as long as we have people out there doing that, it doesn't take very many to cause very serious problems. And we have been promoting exactly that sort of thing for quite some time. Justice is no longer a subject that we honestly seem to care about. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well, I think the people care about it. They just don't feel like they have a say. They don't think they have a seat at the table.
And this is part of the problem, is that, you know, everybody feels like there's nothing they can do about it. There are less things you can do about judges, don't get me wrong. Though, again, low-hanging fruit seats of power have a lot of things they can do to ruin your life, right? Which, by the way, I'm not some magical genius. I just observed what they were doing to us, right? You know, if you live in Northern Virginia, right next to D.C., and you cause political problems, your local sheriff is going to be at your house once a week, right? Or a deputy or somebody, right? Code enforcement will come bother you every other day, right? The system is perfectly happy to go harass people. And so, is this the satisfying justice? No, it's not. But it is a thing you can do, right? And in the world of judges, I ran into a judge at one point in my life who had killed a guy because he drove through a crosswalk without looking against the light. And he was a sitting judge, right? So I understand the feeling that you can't do anything about it. And this particular judge had some sway over my life, and I didn't like it. And that happened to me relatively early on in life, which is probably how I ended up here, is that, look, something needs to be able to be done to these people. And some of it is not very satisfying. Some of it doesn't feel good, but it can still be done. And any quantity of power you can use is better than none.
Yeah, I would agree with that fully. I say we should get to the place where we understand what the outcome will be, and if we can visualize the outcome, then we can get there much easier, right? So you can draw a line from here, from the problem to the solution, but if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I'm now at that stage that I would be in a business. If I'm looking at a business and I'm like, all right, I got to fix this, right? Which, I mean, in essence, the last 5 years have, cost me, one of my businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, right? And you would say, well, Joe, you had the hundreds of millions. No. It's not hundreds of millions that you make. It's revenue, right?
Yeah.
And so when I came back into the company, I had to go, all right, how do I fix this? And I drew a line. And I was like, all right, here's where we need to go. This is what we need to be at. Here are the steps that need to be, and then I could work backwards to get there. The same thing could be said for the government. If you want to fix things, like if you want to fix the SNAP program because you got people that are stealing from it, you cut it off and you make people reapply for it. Right?
Yeah.
Then you audit back all the people that are in it. So I could tell you exactly how to fix certain things because I've had to do it. When you're in the gun business, you have to do ATF audits. You have to do pre-audits to make sure you can pass the ATF audits.
Yeah.
Right? It's the way the business works. So the same thing could be said for some of the government agencies that have said, well, it's impossible to go through this. Excel has gotten really good. The program Excel. So
Mm-hmm.
if you give me an Excel document, I can make it do magical things because it's got all sorts of different ways that you can manipulate that information, right? To get to a place where you can identify or self-identify areas of risk and or problems, right? So the reason why I bring this up is because we have all of these different problems in our government, and the biggest problem I see is, and I talk about it all the time, Don, elections. Don, elections are a problem. Don, we do not have elections. Don, all the elections are fraudulent. Don, every election at every level is fraudulent. The systems are fraudulent. Mail-in ballots are absolutely not transparent. The U.S. Postal Service is involved in it. It's all bunk. And by the way, we have all the proof we need, okay?
If the situation is such that even if you're not 100% correct, it's one of those you're technically not correct but correct. I'm sure for there's one county in Wyoming that nobody cares about, but like every other election that you've ever had. And when I say you've ever had, I mean so much of this. Well, okay, that probably depends on where you live and how old you are. But I grew up in California, and let me tell you right now, there has not been a straight election in California in my lifetime. And
No.
that is, I don't know, maybe Reagan or whatever. But, since then, nothing. And you can tell.
So let me just clarify something for you. The absence of stealing election does not mean that there's an election that's not fraudulently represented.
That's true.
In other words, having the ability, and this is where people get into semantics. Oh, we have the free, fair elections. Oh, this election's fair. Oh, Trump won. And I'm thinking to myself, just because Trump won doesn't mean that the system, the mechanism by which they're actually doing elections is a free and fair election system. It's simple, right?
This is one of those things where, there's a classical name, post hoc ergo proctor hoc. Well, Trump won, therefore, right? Well, there's only about 400 assumptions that you're making. And by the way, when I say California hasn't had a legitimate election in my lifetime, that specifically includes presidential elections, which means there are no non-fraudulent elections, at least at a presidential level, because the states that are swamped with this stuff, right? The New Yorks, the Californias, the Massachusetts is pretty notorious for this. So is Illinois. There are a ton of them. They don't only cheat for their mayoral and governor elections. They cheat for everything, right? And they have, for most of them, for at least 20 years, right? And California in particular, I know, hasn't since, I don't know, probably Reagan. That's probably the last gubernatorial election that was even vaguely legitimate in the state of California. And so much of this goes back, you can go find stories of the 20s of stolen elections in Illinois and all over the place. This is an ongoing problem. And we like to say, but we won every now and again, so it's fine. And this will be one of those situations where you get what you tolerate, right? If you will tolerate a Trump every, what's it been 40 years since Reagan, basically, right?
Yeah.
So if twice a decade or twice a century, you can have a president who's going to come in, at least try, do at least some of the right things and say a bunch of stuff that you really, really like, well, then in the meantime, you're going to get Barack Obama. You're going to get Bill Clinton. You're going to get George W. Bush. They're going to cram in, 32 years worth of destruction for every 8 years that you get to rebuild. It's dead certain way to lose.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that fully. Yeah. I just think we're at that place right now where we have to start collecting and creating solutions. And, someone that called me said, Joe, they don't know how to do it. And I go, what do you mean they don't know how to do it? I mean, look, and I'm not talking about the election has consequences that led to J6. J6 has consequences that led to the ballooning of things like the Proud Boys and the 3% group and the Oath Keepers, right?
Yeah.
Which led to the government going after people like Stuart Rhodes, Joe Biggs. I mean, the list goes on and on, right?
Yeah.
And yet, one of the ways that you solve the problem is that you do universal pardons in order to make sure that you make things right. You right the ship.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that either. So they selectively
really
chose.
Close.
Well, really close is that there's nothing more. I mean, President Trump is very good at golf. Really close will get him a bogey, not a birdie, right?
Exactly. And this is, I think this is indicative of a huge problem that we have, right? Is of all people, and I otherwise don't like much that he has to say, but I want to say Ben Shapiro in Trump's first term said, Trump expected to go to the White House, be given bills, sign them, and be a great president, and everything would just be fine, and his agenda would be implemented. And then he got there and found out that's not how DC works. And it might be the only thing the guy's ever said that was really, really on point, but I think it was. I think in 2016, he went, oh, yeah, okay, I won. And so we're just going to go down there, and we're going to follow my agenda just like we did for Barack Obama, only to find out that nothing works that way. The country went along with Obama's plans because Obama went along with their plans. And along with that, the other piece of that was this want to be liked by the New York Times, right? CNN. And I think he is still fighting these things, right? So when he goes in and says, we're pardoning everybody for J6 except these guys, right? I think what he expects is for the news to be like, well, he did a fair thing, right? He examined these cases individually, and these guys, they were a bridge too far, but he thinks it was otherwise mishandled. And what he actually gets every single time is, I can't believe that you pardoned any of these people. And by the way, those 12 people that you didn't just blanket pardon should be in prison or put to death, right? And at some point, he needs to get over this. Otherwise, we're always going to have these half measures. We're always, and half is unfair, but the refusal to just go all the way, to go, look, I don't care what you think the people who were supporting me did. They didn't do any of that, so they're all pardoned, and this discussion is now over, right? And that needs to be what happens. A bare minimum that, look, I'm just not putting up with any of your bullshit anymore, needs to be the baseline.
I agree with you. Well, Don, how do people follow you? How do people follow you? Thanks for coming on with me. I feel like we solved the world's problems, got at least one layer lower in the cesspool of America.
You could follow me on X at Hilo Procurement. Yep, that's the one.
I'm already following you. Yeah.
And that right now is probably the only social media that I'm actively putting out. I continuously promise that I will make a serious return to podcasting. I don't know when or even if I will get back to it, but I'll give it a try. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I can tell you, it's you can guest host for me every now and then. I could definitely use the help. So,
well, let me know. We'll see if we can work something out.
All right, Don. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your wisdom.
Thanks, brother.
Hopefully, we don't
God
get
bless.
to the vigilante part. Let's pray that doesn't happen, but it looks like it's in the horizon. So,
yeah.
All right. God bless you.
God bless you.
You know, he has some great points. I'm seeing you guys talk about the fact that he had some great points. It's excuses to the fact America had a good 250 years. If we don't have any remedies already, it is really gonna ever get cleaned up. Yeah, so I don't think it's ever gonna get cleaned up because we haven't gotten to the place yet where we recognize that we need solutions. So we've been so indoctrinated towards this idea that people can just use superfluous statements of that, oh, I'm gonna make taxes better on you and we're gonna lower taxes. Well, what does that mean? Tell me how you're gonna do it. You get rid of property tax? Okay, when? Within the first 90 days, we're gonna eliminate and abolish property taxes so you actually own your own home. Try to get back to a place where you have less slavery. We're going to eliminate entitlements to foreign countries, and we're going to make them actually work for it. They're going to have to give to get. So they have to give us something in order to get something. And I'm not talking about free, passage for CIA agents. I'm talking about real benefits to the American people. We don't get there. We don't talk about things from a position of here's the problem, here's the solution. And until we actually get to that place, because you can't, this is the same problem that businesses have, right? If you cannot solve the problem, if you solve the symptoms, your business will collapse. Business model language is called capacity analysis, capacity analysis is what you have to do when you're actually looking at a business and going, okay, I built a swimming pool. The swimming pool is meant to hold water. I've been putting oil in it for the last 50 years. Now that it's broke the foundation of that pool, and so oil is leaking into the soil. And as long as I put enough oil into the pool to outweigh the oil that's leaking out of the bottom of the pool, then I'm okay. But what happens is that when production actually goes in, lessens, then that exposes more of those cracks, which leads to degradation, which leads to ultimately the destruction of that container, that device, that business, that country. That's how you get the collapses that we have today. And the United States is right on the brink because we haven't looked at how do we firm up and make sure that a pool that's meant to hold water holds water, and that we're not trying to shove oil in that particular environment. I hope you understand what I just said. It's a lot. Okay, I got some other stuff that I want to go through with you really quick. And man, every single time we get involved in looking under the hood and we get told certain things, we forget about these things because we like, breaking, this is happening, this happened, whistleblower for this. It'll be just a matter of time since this new whistleblower actually gets swept under the rug and threatened and will be told that she's a terrible person, because that's what happens. But I want you to see this. This is Ann Vandersteel. She's talking about the CIA. Let's go ahead and play it.
Hey everybody, Ann Vandersteel. I'm up in DC right now, and I want to tell you something. The media, the politicians, and the intelligence community pray you never figure what I'm about to tell you out, because our elections weren't compromised by some glitch. They were penetrated by global intelligence weapons. And this system didn't begin in Colorado. It began in Serbia. This is a CIA playground where foreign and domestic intelligence agencies perfected a digital election manipulation long before Americans ever heard of the name Smartmatic. Intelligence elections, yeah, that's right. From there, it was handed off to Venezuelan's military, weaponized through Smartmatic to flip elections, delete logs, and control entire nations. And that architecture, that foreign military infrastructure was quietly slipped into the U.S. And I saw it myself. I was down there with Michael Yon in Panama on the Darien Gap. We watched the military-age men from Venezuela and others around the world come into our country. Well, now here is where everything blows wide open. Those folks expected governors, secretaries of state, and corrupt supervisors of elections to play along. And they did. But they did not expect a county clerk in Mesa County, Colorado, Tina Peters, a Gold Star mom, to catch them in the act. Tina imaged the Dominion machines before they were illegally wiped. She preserved the only untouched 2020 data set in America. Imagine that, 3,143 counties, and she's the only county clerk who has that image. And that image is one that mirrors exactly what Serbian and Venezuelan insiders described. Serbia whistleblowers, and the moment that she did that, well, they moved to destroy her because Tina didn't just uncover election fraud, she exposed a foreign intelligence operation running on American soil. This is why they fear her. This is why, in fact, she's in a prison cell, and this is why her story is the single most important national security case in modern American history. So, I know, I'm just me. I'm Ann Vanderstiel. I'm not backing down. I'm going to keep running my mouth. But I need you guys to do the same. Let's get really loud. Let's make it uncomfortable for these sons of bitches. Because President Trump needs to get that executive order done. We need those 500 National Guard pods that are in every one of our 50 states to go out to the supervisors of elections and to go out into the election ethos to these precincts. Because if they refuse to follow that executive order and hand count ballots, well, we need to start arresting people.
We need to start arresting people. And here, after all the things that you said and the people we have are the Venezuelan whistleblowers, and the fact is that we have enough information that all these people should be arrested. We know that Dominion is the system that is fraudulent. We know that it dates back to Sequoia. We know that it dates back to Eric Coomer, John Paulos, and others. We know. We know that Smartmatic recruited Eric Coomer because he was a flawed individual, a troubled man that was a drug addict that barely could do websites for small businesses. That's the guy they brought in and said, you're now the chief architect. They brought in a guy and they brought him in for this one reason. They brought him in because of the fact that he had the mathematic capabilities in order to finish up and polish a system that was rife with corruption and rife with the ability to steal the voice of the American people. And I stumbled onto Eric Coomer because his mouth wrote a check that his ass couldn't cash. He decided that I'm going to get on these Antifa calls and I'm going to brag about it because that's who he was. He was a braggart. He loved to brag. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made effing sure of it. And what's worse about all of that is that this is the same person that talked about killing police officers and going after President Trump and hating him and hating America. This same guy has had more run-ins with DUIs than the police. Frankly, I'm trying to figure out how he doesn't have a record. Oh, that's right, because the CIA takes care of their own, it appears. And you can't talk about the CIA being in Serbia and being a part of Dominion and tell me that Eric Coomer's not a part of the CIA. And so all they have to do is hem up these guys. They hem them up. Sign the Insurrection Act. Get rid of machines, mail-in ballots, completely get to a system that is absolutely unflawed. You want to see the American spirit come back. You want to see Democrats and Republicans come together with the ideals that they will have people that will run in positions of trust and authority that will do well by the American people. You want to see people take care of the 40%, which are the most vulnerable among us. You want to get to a place where we hold people accountable and stop theft, stop crime, and give people back their rights. You took something that was never yours to take. But we have all the information. But we have people like Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and Kash Patel who run around creating an image that does not exist. Oh, crime is down. Look at us. We're going after and taking 1 million barrels of oil down to Venezuela. That does not help the American people, and it does not change the ethos of our communities or our country. Solve the problem, and you solve it for the American people. Solve the symptom, and you will exacerbate the problem, and you will destroy everything that is good about this country. And they know it. They know it. President Trump knows what I'm saying is absolutely true. And the people that I have conversations with, they're like, Joe, how do you articulate it in such a way where you basically talk to the American, you talk to I got up on stage and I talked to people, and there was Democrats and Republicans. How is it that I sat with 130, 140 Democrats? They're like, yeah, they want to debate you. And I'm like, all right. They looked at me like I was a meat sandwich 3 years ago. And when they left, they gave me a hug, because I was like, listen, I know what you want. And the media doesn't want you to like me. But here's the reality. Your education's shit. Your teachers are retards. The parents are being thrown crumbs. So they're doing everything they can to just survive. And it's generational. And if that wasn't enough, they come in and they basically tell you that, hey, do me a favor, just kill off your offspring. And they commit genocide since the 1970s against an entire generation of black and brown people. But don't worry about it. We should be taking care of illegals that rape and murder our children and our women and wreak havoc and do crimes in our community. And we should stand up for them because, you know what, they're the most vulnerable among us. No, they're not. No, they're not. The most vulnerable among us are Americans that are in Chicago, Americans that are in LA, Americans that are in Washington, D.C., Americans that are in New York City. Don't tell me that I have to feel bad for illegals that are here illegally that you're giving entitlements to while you step over the bodies of black and brown and white people, because there's the Rust Belt's filled with them, that have no access to education, no access to opportunities, and live in a place where Twinkies and Chef Boyardee are the words of the day, if they can get it. We're in just an upside down world, upside down. And you can solve it by solving the elections. You can solve it by doing right by the American people. That's why it's the haves and the have-nots. The illegals, they have to have them here. Why? Because it creates opportunity, creates chaos, hurts the Americans, who then they lock up like Tina Peters. Here's a cut. This is a whistleblower, by the way. We talked about the Somalis up in Minneapolis. By the way, they've been having to deal with Somali cab drivers for 20 years. My daughter sent me a text and she's like, hey, Babcia, so my daughter's half Polish. Babcia has been dealing with these people and these problems in Minneapolis for 15 years. You're talking about 15 years ago. It's just gotten progressively worse. This is a whistleblower at the airport at St. Paul who is talking about Somali men in pairs coming in with suitcases full of cash on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis. Stealing the Americans' people. Laundering money for God knows who. Play it.
2016 to 2021. Liz, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you, Liz. I applaud you and Alpha News.
We appreciate that. I have to say, though, this sounds like something out of a spy movie. People going through security and getting on planes with suitcases filled with millions of dollars in cash. Tell us what you've actually seen as a TSA agent during the time you worked there.
Well, I've actually seen a lot of things, but the most shocking is exactly that. I saw suitcases filled with millions of dollars of cash, and the couriers were always Somali men traveling in pairs. And they got through the checkpoint. And it just really absolutely blew my mind the first time you open a suitcase and you see millions of dollars of cash. And typically what would happen is a Leo or a law enforcement officer would come, check their credentials. I don't know what kind of questions they asked them, but their IDs were always documented, and probably their plane tickets as well. So there is a trail of that out there. And I would believe with all the cameras at the airport that if they started there, they could probably find each and every individual that brought money through the checkpoint.
Obviously, this seems suspicious, if not alarming, given what seems to be a pattern here. So you're talking about millions of dollars flying out of Minneapolis, and you think it happened about every week or so? Is that right?
So it certainly seemed like it happened every week. the suitcases came in, and it was always, the MO was always two Somalian men traveling in pairs. Sometimes they both had suitcases. And so the process was, as a TSA agent, we would pull the bag, and then we'd bring them to a private screening room. And we would open the suitcase and make sure that that's all it was stacks of cash. And a Leo would come and maybe question them and for sure take a picture of their identification and I'm assuming their plane ticket. I'm not sure. So there is a trail out there between that. I mean, it has to be documented somewhere, and all the cameras in the airport, I would imagine if they'd like to find all this cash, they should start at the airport. Because in the 5 years I was there, I believe $1 billion went through the airport.
$1 billion. As if this isn't troubling enough, Liz, it's not just money you watched leave MSP. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. There was another instance, again, a Somali man that had a carry-on luggage filled with brand new passports. And he was allowed to get through the checkpoint. So where he went with those passports is anybody's guess.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Or is it unbelievable? Sorry, I ate a piece of chocolate. Ah, got me. I'm going to be a little bit funny now, I think. Yale Medical School. Now, remember what I said about Columbia University? It's actually CIA University. Columbia is basically the hotbed of the CIA. So is Cal Berkeley. University of California in Berkeley. Another hotbed. Hotbeds that are basically captured by CIA assets, typically people that are professors. But this is a Yale Medical School that invited a Columbia PhD to present on the psychopathic problem of the white mind. These people are sick. Play it. Dr. Aruna Kalanani for a talk called The Psychopathic Problem of the White Mind.
I had fantasies of unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, burying their body, and wiping my bloody hands as I walked away relatively guiltless. With a bounce in my step, like I did the world a favor. This is the cost of talking to white people at all. The cost of your own life as they suck you dry. There are no good apples out there. White people make my blood boil. Psychological predicament, because white people feel that we are bullying them when we bring up race. They feel that we should be thanking them for all that they have done for us. They are confused, and so are we. Can you hear me okay? Yes? Okay. We keep forgetting that directly talking about race is a waste of our breath. We are asking a demented, violent predator who thinks that they're a saint or a superhero to accept responsibility. It ain't gonna happen. They have 5 holes in their brain. It's like banging your head against a brick wall, just like sort of not a good idea. We need to remember that directly talking about race to white people is useless because we're at the wrong level of conversation. Addressing racism assumes that white people can see and process what we are talking about. They can't. That's why they sound demented. They don't even know they have a mask on. White people think it's their actual face. We need to get to know the mask.
Anti-white is now institutionally accepted in academia, education, media, and the capitalist system. Anti-white rhetoric is leading to anti-white violence. I'm going to tell you this. I don't care if you're black, white, green, yellow, purple. Don't care. I know what racism looks like. I know what a system. I'm really dangerously close to breaking an entire story out of Douglas County, Colorado. I'm dangerously close. I'm not going to right now, but I promise you, when I put this story in front of you, it is going to make, he's actually a friend of mine. I'm talking about George Brockler. I mean, he's a guy, I like this guy a lot. Now, George, I'm going to send this clip to you. Guys, make sure you cut this clip. I've tried to reach out to George about a case that is in Douglas County that is this in reverse. It basically is them going after one of the best men that I've ever met and victimizing him and demonizing him and charged him unjustly, all to satisfy the rants of a black woman who, in my opinion, completely set up this man. And I want to point something else out. This is in a red part of Colorado. Red part of Colorado. And the system literally is designed to hurt people because of what this woman just said. She said that she wanted to take out a gun and shoot a white man in the head and walk away guiltless. That was a presentation that was given at a medical school. And what has happened is that this mentality that you see right there is freezing and creating a cancer inside of the minds and the systems, being held hostage by the bully pulpit of the mainstream media. In this case, it's the media inside of Colorado that is captured by radical leftists that act as the bully pulpit to attack those people who don't do the biddings of going after good men and women. That's the reality we face right now. This is an exchange at a New York City Council meeting. This is a socialist councilwoman, Alexa Viles. She brags about being a multimillionaire. Go ahead, play it.
I think people should know that you're worth $1.8 million.
You have 47
I
seconds.
think that's important. I think that's important. I think
I'm worth a lot more, by the way, for the record.
Well, Dr.
Continue with your testimony, or I will end your testimony.
You keep cutting me off. It's hard to speak when you cut me off.
32 seconds and counting.
You say you advocate for the poor people and people of color, but you just made the New York Post. You're worth $1.8 million. You're buying homes in Florida. You're a Democrat. You're a Democrat, right?
I suggest you keep it focused on the topic at hand, or else your testimony will end and you will be out of order. So focus on the topic at hand, which is immigration, or you are out of order and your testimony will be ended.
You're the chair to the committee, no? On immigration.
Focus. You have 1 minute left. Focus on the topic at hand, or you will be out of order and your testimony will be ended.
What did I say? What did I say was out of order? What did I say?
You have 57 seconds to make your case.
You keep interrupting me, though.
You have 52 seconds to make your case.
That's how they treat the people. They treat the people like slaves. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. It's haves and have-nots. You're the slave. They decided you're the slave. They decided that the system was designed to persecute with impunity. Do not question the election systems, slave. Give us 56 cents on every dollar, slave. Do not tell me what to do, slave. I'll give you 50 seconds. 45 seconds, 42 seconds. I will interrupt you any way I want because there's no consequences. Does it make it more real what Don just said before about vigilantism and who's responsible for it? When you take away the ability for people to have hope and to have an idea of an outcome, you turn people against the very system that you've created in order to make yourselves the slave masters. And that's really what's happened. And I want to tell you that it's all gotten to the point where we are trying to fight for something that is fundamental. Like most people are just fundamentally just trying to fight for, hey, how do I help businesses survive? How do I help be good at what I do? How do I help take care of my children? How do I give opportunities to the next generation? How do I give back? But you can't because they've taken all the meat off the bone. And here's Jasmine Crockett. She's appearing in a rap video. I'm not kidding you. Yeah, play it.
She ain't never been. Who else willing to go toe to toe against the president? I can't wrap my head around someone who votes Republican. She advocate for feeding kids. They protect the ones touching them. Trump invading his own country with an army. What a joke. We remember Pearl Harbor by illegally bombing boats. What y'all thought we wasn't gonna do nothing but they think again. They only trying to scare out of running cause they think she win. Listen, thought I told y'all we ain't never scared. Now look who name on the docket. Got 2 words for every racist bigot, living Jasmine Crockett. Everyone in MAGA isn't racist. Yeah, that might be true, but in all of history, I never seen a Nazi flag be blue. So which side you wanna choose? Me, I hope my money goes to the side that isn't trying to say affordabilities. I hope she stand on business, all 10 toes. Texas tough, don't need no more bad built, bleach, blonde, butch bodies moving forward.
I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. These are backwards times where the people that are projecting put this piece of shit up on the stage. Now, I will tell you this. There is hope. There's hope, guys. There's hope, and more hope. Department of Homeland Security just did something. They're not playing. Now, look, I actually don't care about you getting rid of people that you brought into the country. You should have got rid of them. They never should have been in the country to begin with. You should have never had open borders. You should have never let us get run over. You should never let a guy out that killed a 6-year-old little boy. That person should rot in jail for the rest of its life. But you didn't do that either. So you want to take credit for things that you should be doing. Here's the thing. If you want to solve the problem, quit screwing around and get rid of machines and mail-in ballots. Go to in-person, one day, have elections, make sure that our men in the military can actually vote, make it a federal holiday, count it at a precinct level individually, and watch all the rats in Washington scatter. Cut our budget by 40, 50%. Get rid of these judges. Get military tribunals. Do the things that give people back their ability to have a voice. Stop the walled gardens and the Googles and the Facebooks and all these different guys on both sides of the aisle, because Rumble's the same way. They're all the same way. They're all a bunch of shitbags that basically create and have their censorship because they have their own agendas and their own lists of people that are not allowed to have a voice. And if that's not true, then why are people going to my website, untamednation.com, and enjoying the content, not having to deal with the fact that they can slow things down or degrade the signal? It wouldn't be growing, but it is. Go ahead and check this out. This is the Department of Homeland Security. $140 million deal by a fleet of Boeing 737s to ramp up ICE's deportation flights. 6 planes for deportations. It's a better use of our money now than health care for illegals, public assistance. I don't care about illegals here in my country that have committed crimes. I don't care. I don't care. What I care about is that we take care of Americans. And if we have money left over, we can take care of them now. But you know what the people in Washington are doing? They're sending $600 to $800 million to one country and $400 million to another, so they can launder it through the CIA and give money to them so they can then use it against the American people. It is just like a boomerang. Yeah, we may take care of the illegal problem, but if we don't take care of the election problem, we have no country. And I'm going to tell you something else. Somebody just mentioned it on here, and it's absolutely true. The vacuum that's been created by Charlie Kirk dying is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But I do remember a couple things, and I've talked about this. Charlie Kirk, oh man, he was trying to do great things, but he had, every time that he got money, it came with strings. And those strings were tied to, you're not allowed to talk about this, you can't talk about this. And you don't think the government is involved in influencing and making sure that people don't say certain things. It's absolute. I remember when Charlie Kirk gave a call to Steve Bannon and says, get Professor Clements off your show. That happened. I know who the influencers are. I know who the influencers are that are absolutely rotted at the core. I know them by name. I have a list. And I have all the stuff, and I don't publicize any of it, but I will tell you this. There are a lot more people that literally are trying to keep you at bay and make you be filled with opium so that you don't actually get to the place where you can actually solve the problem. We don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots. That's your number one problem. There is no other problem that you need to deal with other than the fact that we need to make sure we have machines and mail-in ballots, period. Machines and mail-in ballots have to go. What do we got here? Let me read some of this. $800 million to Ukraine, but not fixing health insurance or getting Trump's choices through. Yeah, this is true. $800 million to Ukraine. Kiss the world goodbye. I'm not going to do that. Look, if we're going to solve this problem, I'm reading the comments, we're going to solve this problem, we are going to have to stop paying into the system. We're going to stop letting the states do what they're doing to victimize the people in their communities. We're going to have to hold them accountable, and we're going to have to go after rogue judges. They're everywhere. They hide because they're cowards. They use power to push on and to victimize people in the community. I am a whistleblower. I've been victimized to the tune of $140,000. I have been villainized by radical leftists wearing black robes at every level. I have let the stench of their lies and deception leak down from the lawyers that represent Eric Coomer, taking from me what was never theirs to take, till they pushed me into a hole. They pushed me into a place where now, I got nothing left. I got nothing to lose. And now I'm pissed. I was pissed before. You haven't seen me this pissed. Jeff sent me a thing saying, Joe, are you okay? We're praying for you. You got pissed off yesterday. I wasn't in a place to pray. And I'm telling you right now, as God is my witness, we are not going to solve this problem unless everyone gets off their asses and starts doing something about it. We should surround the prison that Tina's in. We should surround it. We should get 50,000 people. Instead of doing this like Trump train parade, we get 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 people to surround the prison down where Tina is. Protest the prison. We should surround the houses of people that are in our government that are doing horrible things to the American people. And I'm talking about the people in Colorado, the governor's mansion. And then they say, they'll just send down Antifa. All right. Then we kick their teeth in too when they start throwing cans. I am not advocating for violence. I am done with the violence. And what they're doing to Tina is violent. What they're doing to the American people by putting up these kabuki theater elections is violent. What Kyle Clark and others are doing to basically say there's nothing to see here as they suppress the truth as well as they can is violence. And rogue judges, that is absolute violence. The ones that let people out on the street that kill 6-year-old little boys, violence. This is violence. This is the political violence that we have dealt with time in and time out, and we act like there's nothing we can do about it. They let evil go. They persecute good people. They lie with impunity, and then they use the bully pulpit of the media to cover it up. Mr. President, sign the Insurrection Act. Sign it. Let's get to the hard part. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's do what is necessary to protect the people of this country. And I'm not talking about the people on the radical left or the people on the radical right. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the 95% of the people that are in the middle, that are the unintended consequences, the victims of what these people have done. Our leaders are not leaders. They're selected henchmen that represent a group of people that I don't even know who they are. We don't know. But I do know that these same people are having those conversations and somebody is barking down to them, don't let President Trump's picks get into office. We let enough in. There are people that are on our side. Pam Bondi's on our side. She's going to slow things down. We've got to do better. And that's going to take the American people. So we are going to be organizing something. I've been talking to Jake Lang. He's like, we're going to go down to Tina Peters' place. I was like, okay, done. We'll organize it, and I'll tell all the influencers out there, and the ones that don't actually get on board and say, oh, have another J6, they're going to storm the Bastille. You let a 70-year-old Gold Star mom just sit in a prison? You let the judges just do what they want, act with impunity? You let the pedophile judge that sentenced Tina Peters, that guy who, by the way, called himself deviant, called himself, to a 20-year-old kid, called himself a deviant. Oh, yes, silver is at $63.84. Thanks for putting that out. And can I get a Joe is right again? Can I get it? Can I get a go Joe is right again? Somebody give me a Joe's right again. Joe's right again. I'm definitely right. All right, let's pray, right? We can pray. By the way, I still think we can get to the place where we can do good things together, but it is going to take it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. Jira, Joe's right. Oh, Susan Rice, good to see you. Joe's right again. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in that I hope that you took advantage of it, and I hope you got some silver, and I hope that it's blessing you, because since we had a conversation about that, it has doubled since the beginning of the year. So anyway, pretty awesome. Father God, we are so grateful for the opportunity we have to be able to have eyes to see. We are grateful for the opportunity that we live in such a wonderful country, and we recognize the rot that we're under right now, but we are grateful that we are born at a time such as this, that we can stand up and we can serve you, Father, that we can do the things that are necessary in order to solve the problem and ignore and eliminate the symptoms. We are grateful for our president. We are grateful for so many of the things, the blessings that we have in our lives that we take for granted every day. The chair that I sit in, the children that we have, the relationships we've been able to build. Father, it is just an amazing opportunity for us to be able to fellowship, to get to know each other, to do your work together. We recognize also that there's all these conflicts, and we just pray, Father, you can help us set aside petty differences, and we may get to the hard stuff. We may get to the place where we can be aligned. Republican, Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter. Everyone is being victimized by the lies that are told by these selected leaders. The evil is evident. So, Father, I just ask you to give our president, President Trump, and the people underneath him eyes to see and a heart to do well by the American people, to serve the American people. And Father, we don't want anybody to go without. I don't want illegals to not be able to eat, but I don't want to step over our brothers and sisters in this country and serve other people while we make victims of our own citizens here in the United States. And there's so much to be done in other countries. We could hold those countries accountable. We could force them to do good by their people. We could give them encouragement that they can better the environments that they have in these other countries around the world. But instead, they are rife with the same corruption that we face here in the U.S., and the same slave environment that has held us in bondage probably for the last 2,000 years. It's just become more evident today. Father, we ask you to bless those people that are sick. Bless Dave that is down in Mexico getting treatment. I ask you, Father, to put your arms around him and to just comfort his family, his children. I ask you, Father, to help with the other issue I was talking about earlier with a friend. And that truth may be finally heard, and that the ridiculous can be set aside. And it's not just the individual things that happen in the court system. It's that the emperor has no clothes, that these judges are doing it to more and more people and victimizing Americans, victimizing our people while allowing evil to walk the streets and re-victimize the American people. Father, help us that we may never get to a place where we get to vigilantism, but that we can have a place of accountability and accountability and consequences. Help us, Father, that we may humble ourselves before you and may do your will, while speaking honestly about how we feel about things, not holding back, not operating with restraint, but speaking truth regardless of the consequences. I ask these things, Father, humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. I will see you. Bless you all. Have a great time. Make militias great again. Oh, by the way, Mike Lindell is running for governor of Minnesota. I wish him well. Give me back my money. I just, yeah, I don't know how you do that and take. I don't know. I don't even know how to reconcile it. I don't know how to reconcile it. I don't know how to reconcile how you take from people what's not yours, and then you get out there and you I don't know. But I want my money back. I want you to give back what you said you give back and be honorable. So how do you run a country? How do you run a state if you can't do honorable things? I'm going to start pushing on that, by the way. I like Mike. I spent 2 days in a trial. I have been victimized by people who say that, oh, you're my friend, or they take from me and betray me. And I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I told you, I don't like being pushed into a corner. That's what I feel like I've been doing. So anyway, you guys keep going. God bless you. Amen. So I'll see you guys soon. And yeah, thank you. Talk soon.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Tame nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah.